Patney and I am the chairman. And Anna Franzen is the timekeeper. This debate will be judged by a panel of 3 adjudicators, who are Ms. Lowen, Ms. Zeph, and Ms. Raj. The topic of this debate is that South Australian police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. The affirmative team seated to my right is from St. Aloysius College. The negative team seated to my left is from Glenunga International High School. The speaking time for this debate is 3 minutes, with a double bell at the end of the speaking time. A warning bell will ring once at 2 minutes. A continuous bell will ring 30 seconds after the final bell. Please switch off your mobile phones and other electronic devices. I call upon the first affirmative speaker, Tanisha Donnelly.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the South Australian Police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. We, the affirmative team, believe this statement is true. We define South Australia Police as the state law enforcement agency responsible for public safety and stopping crime. We define reinstate as restoring something to its original state. We define mandatory as compulsory by law or rule. We define spelling test as a test that measures how well a person can spell words correctly. We define numeracy test as a test that measures a person's ability to understand and work with numbers. We define recruits as new members of an organisation who are undergoing training to become fully fledged members. We, the affirmative team, interpret the topic to mean that the South Australia Police recruitment process should reintroduce these spelling and numeracy testing requirements as a prerequisite to enter the force. As first speaker, I will be talking to you about how mandatory spelling and numeracy tests ensure legal integrity and prevent errors, and how they assure operational safety. Our second speaker will be talking about how these tests promote fair and professional recruitment standards. She will also speak to you about how these tests uphold professional standards and maintain public trust. Our third speaker will rebut and sum up our team case. Today, I will be talking to you about 2 points. My first point is that mandatory spelling and numeracy tests ensure legal integrity and prevent errors. According to the New South Wales courts, a case where a man stole and drove a truck was initially dismissed because the incorrect time frame was written for when the alleged offence occurred. This is just one example of how simple mistakes in writing and numbers can have serious consequences in the legal system, leading to injustice. Good literacy skills reduce human errors, and our police force should be held to the highest standard. By reinstating these tests, we make sure recruits have the basic skills to avoid these errors, keep evidence reliable, and protect the fairness of our courts and police reputation. Can we call it justice when victims see their cases collapse because of basic writing errors? Now to my second point. Mandatory spelling and numeracy tests ensure operational safety. According to the Australian Institute of Criminology, on the job, officers rely on quick numerical understanding, for example measurements and vehicle speeds, and clear written communication, for example radio messages and incident logs. Handling weapons, coordinating tactical responses, and following precise procedures all rely on clear communication and accurate calculations. Mistakes in these areas can lead to operational failures, risks to fellow officers, or harm to the public. Testing ensures new recruits have the basic spelling and numeracy skills needed to perform under pressure and understand instructions without relying on technologies that could fail. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the South Australia Police should certainly reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits because they ensure legal integrity and operational safety. Thank you.
Excuse me, timekeeper, that first bell, what time did you ring the first bell at?
2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Seemed very short, that's all. And so you know how to operate the... Okay, alright, thank you.
call upon the first negative speaker, Jotsana Verma.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that South Australia Police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team. We, the negative team, know that this statement is undoubtedly false. Tonight I will be presenting 2 points. South Australia Police should emphasise the real-world scenarios and how additional testing could increase stress and negatively impact recruits. Our second speaker will be presenting 3 points. That policing requires a much more vast range of skills. Numeracy skills are less critical and recruits can be trained spelling and numeracy during their initial training period. Our third speaker will rebut and sum up our team's case. The first affirmative speaker tried to convince you that spelling and numeracy are good for police officers. However, real-world policing demands quick thinking and emotional intelligence, not just academic proficiency. A 2018 Australian Institute of Criminology study found that 72% of police work involves decision-making in real time, where academic skills are relevant. Clearly, effective policing requires problem-solving and judgment that cannot be assessed through academic tests. What truly prepares officers is their ability to handle complex situations, not their ability to spell or solve equations. Ultimately, focusing on academic tests is nothing to equip officers with the real-world skills they need. Moving on to my first compelling point. Real-world scenarios faced by officers often require quick thinking and adaptability rather than academic skills. Police work involves flexible thinking and problem-solving, which cannot be measured by academic tests such as spelling or numeracy. According to the Australian Institute of Criminology, 77% of police activities entail decision-making in unpredictable situations. Moreover, 85% of police officers agree that skills such as conflict resolution and situation awareness are more important than academic ones. Bringing back mandatory tests would take the focus away from preparing entrants for real-life police work. The street is where it really matters. Now to my second clear point. Additional testing could increase stress and negatively impact the morale of potential recruits, discouraging them from joining the force. Police recruits already experience immense pressure during training, and extra tests would only add to the not-needed stress. Additionally, 38% of officers stated that academic tests unrelated to their careers affect their welfare. This would reduce the diversity of recruits and make it harder to develop a strong, motivated force. We need to focus on encouraging and retaining the right people to serve our community. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, as you can clearly see, the South Australia Police should definitely not reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. Thank you.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, Edika Tunasia.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the South Australia Police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. We, the affirmative team, believe that this statement is true. The first negative speaker said that stress would make police recruits overwhelmed. This is not true because there is no reason to stress because the recruits should be confident in what they are doing. The first negative speakers also said that tests won't help police officers in their job. That is wrong because these tests focus on essential skills like clear writing and accurate calculations, ensuring recruits can handle key tasks from day one. They don't guarantee perfection, but show recruits can perform well in basic critical situations. Tests prevent simple mistakes and help prepare officers to do their job effectively because then they know what is to come and how to handle the situations. Our first speakers already explained that mandatory spelling and numeracy tests ensure legal integrity and prevent errors because without these skills, it won't work. She also spoke about how these tests ensure that police have operational safety. Today, I will be talking about 2 points. Now to my first point, fair and professional recruitment standards. Spelling and numeracy tests are important because they set consistent objective standards for all applicants. Everyone is assessed the same way, removing bias and ensuring recruitment is based on ability, not background. Police officers must write accurate reports, understand data, and communicate clearly. The Australian Public Service Commission 2018 report found that basic skill testing improves job performance and supports skill-based hiring. That's why the Australian Federal Police still use these tests. South Australia Police should have these tests to ensure fairness in hiring and professionalism. Now to my second point, upholding professional standards and maintaining public trust. According to the Australian Council for Educational Research, basic literacy and numeracy testing ensures recruits meet minimum standards before entering high-stake roles. That's why professions like the Australian Defence Force require applicants to pass spelling and numeracy tests to prove they can exhibit good decisions and communication. Teachers must pass the land type test, and nurses, paramedics, even electricians need to meet similar standards to be accepted. Police carry enormous responsibility, making decisions that affect people's rights, safety, and lives. When teachers, nurses, and electricians must prove these basic skills, why should police be the exception? That's why numeracy and literacy tests should be introduced, because they uphold professional standards and maintain public trust. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, spelling and numeracy tests are fair and essential. They remove bias, uphold professional standards, and demonstrate to the public that police are truly ready to serve and protect with skill and reliability. Thank you.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Isabel Handcare.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the South Australia Police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. We, the negative team, believe that this statement is false. The second affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that it maintains professional standards. And this is wrong because while maintaining professional standards is important, focusing intensely on spelling and numeracy tests may overlook other crucial skills like empathy, communication and problem solving, which are essential for effective policing. Our first speaker has already stated that the South Australia Police work on real-world scenarios and that testing can reduce stress and impact recruits. Now to my first point. My first point is that policing requires a range of skills such as communication, empathy and critical thinking, and each of these skills do not involve spelling or numeracy. According to a survey by the Police Training Institute, 85% of the responses ranked critical thinking as more important than traditional academic skills in their daily duties. Communication skills are vital in policing. Officers frequently encounter tense situations where they must gather and convey information effectively. The ability to remain calm and communicate clearly is essential for resolving conflicts and ensuring public safety. Altogether, this shows that even police who have gotten the job believe that numeracy and spelling are not as important as communication. Now to my second point, which is because of the technology and tools available now, the reliance on manual spelling and numeracy skills may be less critical in day-to-day policing tasks. These days, there is technology that has autocorrect, and we have calculators, meaning people don't need to be able to do it on the spot. According to a report by the Australian Institute of Criminology, the use of technology in policing has significantly improved efficiency and accuracy in administrative tasks. Furthermore, police departments now use various digital tools and software for data analysis, report writing and communication. These technologies support processes and reduce the likelihood of human error, allowing officers to dedicate more time to thinking and decision making. My third and final point is that during police training, the recruits can develop their numeracy and spelling skills along practical policing skills. According to South Australia Police, in police training, the sessions go for 9 to 12 months, which gives heaps of time to learn the necessary skills involved. This means that if you only had to know conversions in numeracy and spelling, you would most likely learn it during training, and if not, you could practice. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, South Australia Police should definitely not incorporate mandatory spelling on numeracy tests. Policing isn't all based on knowledge. There is now technology such as spell check and calculators to help with recruits' daily duties. And finally, there is time during the police training to learn and develop their spelling and numeracy skills. Thank you.
I call upon the third affirmative speaker, Toshi Glenunga.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that South Australia should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for new recruits. We, the affirmative team, believe this statement is true. Our first speaker has already stated that spelling and numeracy tests ensure legal integrity and prevent such errors as in court, where cases can be dismissed. She also spoke about how these tests ensure operational safety on the job. Because the dangerous situations they find themselves in require clear communication, following instructions and quick numerical understanding. Our second speaker has talked about how these tests promote fair and professional recruitment standards, and they assess recruits with no bias and based on skill. She's also told you that these tests uphold professional standard to maintain public trust and ensure that our police force is equipped with the necessary skills they need to protect the public. The first negative speaker has said that spelling and numeracy tests will cause lesser applicants to apply. We agree that it's important to get more people to apply, but we still need to make sure they're ready for the job. A 2020 study from the Griffith University found that recruits with strong reading and math skills did better in training and on the job. The tests aren't all about keeping people out. They make sure all officers can handle real situations with clear communications and good decisions. The first negative speaker has also tried to tell you that police officers require critical knowledge. Yes, we agree that policing relies heavily on our own judgment, but numeracy and spelling are just as necessary. A 2020 internal study by the Australian Federal Police found that recruits who failed the literacy test were 50% more likely to make mistakes in official paperwork within their first 6 months. Those mistakes can derail investigations and undermine prosecutions. Mandatory testing isn't about excluding people, it's about avoiding errors before they happen. The second negative speaker is trying to tell you that technology can be used in a police's everyday life. While technology can help us sometimes, we can't rely on it 24/7. At crime scenes or in urgent situations, they often have to handwrite reports or take witness statements without digital tools. The Australian Institute of Criminology found that 63% of critical police documents are produced without spell check, particularly in rural or fast-moving cases. This proves technology can't replace competence. For someone trusted to enforce the law, basic spelling and numeracy must be second nature. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, spelling and numeracy tests should be reinstated in South Australia because it helps prevent legal errors as well as maintaining professional standards and fairness. Thank you.
I call upon the third negative speaker, Ewan Tang.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that the South Australian Police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. We, the negative team, strongly disagree with the topic. Firstly, to my rebuttals. The first affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that mistakes in report or calculations could have serious consequences. The other team says that mistakes in reports or numbers can be dangerous. However, police jobs are done with the aid of technology, teamwork, and checking systems. A small spelling error doesn't put anyone in danger, as technology and checking systems are used to ensure that the writing is clear of mistakes. Police also use other gadgets like calculators and computers for tasks like working out time and speed, so working out equations isn't a problem. The second affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that mandatory tests hold police to higher standards. This statement is false. The standard should focus on skills that actually impact the service, such as critical and creative thinking, communication, and problem solving, as the West Mercia Police states. Instead of adding higher standards, it just puts extra hurdles in place that don't actually improve how the police act to the public. In fact, a 2020 report from the Police Foundation Australia stated that 92% of officers believe real-life experiences is more important than doing well in school. This proves that academic tests don't measure the skills that truly matter in policing. Instead, we should focus on practical tests that show how well someone can handle real-life situations. She has also stated that it helps maintain public trust in the police. Doing a spelling or maths test does not maintain public trust in the police in any way. People don't care if they're not competent in spelling or calculating questions. They care about how good they are at doing their job and how good they are at keeping the community safe. As the ID states, 67% of people listed feeling safe as a top priority, which is what the police should be striving for. Now to my team summary. Our first speaker spoke to you about how real-life scenarios faced by police officers often require quick thinking and adaptability rather than academic skills. She effectively backed up her points from the Australian Institution of Criminology, showing reliable statistics. In her second point, she discussed how additional testing could increase stress and negatively impact the morale of the potential recruits, discouraging them from joining the force, explaining that police officers already experience huge levels of stress and it would just be unnecessary to add more. Our second speaker has told us that policing requires a huge range of skills such as communication, empathy, and critical thinking, and each of these skills do not involve spelling or numeracy. Her second point convinced us that these skills aren't needed because of the technologies and tools available, like software for data analysis, report writing, and communication. Finally, her last point informed us that during police training, the recruits can develop their numeracy and spelling skills alongside practical policing skills. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we strongly disagree with the South Australia Police should reinstate mandatory spelling and numeracy tests for recruits. Thank you.